Have you ever wondered why so few people complete a circumnavigation? Why so few people sail around the world? More than twice as many people climb Mount Everest every year. And the reason is perseverance. It takes an enormous amount of tenacity to get a boat around the world. It's very difficult because of mechanical failures, because of weather, all kinds of issues. Every day there is something that is trying to stop you from completing your circumnavigation. And every day was a challenge, such as hitting a rock in Mykonos and ripping a bunch of fiberglass off the bottom of our keel and thinking we were going to sink right there in front of the nude beach. Or ripping our mainsail in the southern Aegean and not having a sail for 800 miles of upwind sailing. Or getting to New Zealand and having to haul out our brand new engine and rebuild it after only 750 hours because of mechanical issues. When I was a kid growing up in Long Beach, my father always said to me, take engine mechanics, take engine mechanics. And did I listen to him? No. So I had to learn the hard way at sea. Believe it or not, there's a picture of me with my head in the engine room. But every day there was a challenge. And for example, if you even have a close look at the glasses that I'm wearing, these are magnifying glasses. And one night I was on watch, and I saw a ship on the radar. So you see a little blip come up. First thing you want to do is you want to see if you can see that ship without the radar. So I looked for the ship, and sure enough, I saw the light. I took my hand-bearing compass, something like this. I held it up to my eyes, and I looked, and it showed a 30-degree difference from what the ship on the radar. Are there two ships? No. There's only one ship. Compass, radar. Compass, radar. 30 degrees difference. I took off my glasses, and I rubbed my eyes, like you do. I put the compass back up to my eyes. Same. It matched the radar. Those glasses are held together with a magnet at the front. Every day it was something. Every day it was some little thing. And I mean, here, we altered course for stars because the stars were so bright and they come all the way down to the horizon. I'd come up and I'd see a ship. It wasn't a ship, it was a star. And we altered course for that several times. Well, there were other more serious situations. A lot more serious. On the 1,100-mile passage from Vanuatu, which is deep in the South Pacific, to Australia. It's kind of a notorious passage, and it was just Ken and I, just the two of us, for this 1,100-mile passage. Started out okay. We ripped a couple of sails, but not a good omen, but we figured we'd be all right. About 500 miles away from Australia, our autopilot quit. Well, we figured, okay, we can fix this. There was only 15-foot seas. So we heaved to, and for those of you who are sailors, you know that you can stop a boat in the middle of the ocean. It's called heaving to. We heaved to, we went down below, we took the autopilot out, which was no easy feat. And in the 15-foot seas, the tools were sliding back and forth across the salon floor. And we repaired the autopilot, and we put it back in. Yay. That autopilot fix lasted for another 150 miles. And this time, when the autopilot quit, it quit for good. We went down below, we took it out, and we realized that we could not fix it. Well, that's okay. We only have 36 hours of hand steering ahead of us. We can do that. 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off, maybe an hour on, an hour off. We can handle that. Well, about 1 o'clock in the morning, we're sailing along in a very sleepy, dreamy state. You get into this zone of where you're just steering with your finger or your toe or something. But the seas were rather big. They had come up to 15 to 20 feet. The wind was blowing at 40 knots. That's about 45 miles an hour from the beam. The rain was pouring down, and it was pelting at us sideways. The waves were coming over us sideways. The only way you could tell the difference between whether it was rain or a wave that had hit you was the taste of the salt. And all of a sudden, we heard, bam! Now, for those of you who know boats, you know that when there's a noise like that in the middle of the night, it's usually not nothing. Even though we thought, well, what could it be, So we took our bright flashlight and we were looking around and we realized that our forestay was gone. So I'll tell you what a forestay is. The mast goes up here and the sails come down from that. there are basically 4 cables that hold the mast up. There's one in the back called the backstay. There's one on each side called the shroud. And then there's the most important one. And that's about a 1/2 inch diameter cable that's the forestay that goes from the top of the mast down to the front or the bow of the boat. That was missing. Not good. Because there's a big chance that the mast can fall down. And on a mast, with a mast like on the boat like that, which is stepped all the way to the keel, there's a good chance it's going to rip out some of the house and all kinds of things. Were we scared? No. We were petrified. So we immediately turned the boat downwind, so the pressure was pushing the mast forward, and gave us a chance to think. What should we do? Well, we got on the radio, we started calling friends, and I just started to think about it. Well, we have to do something. We have to jury rig another forestay, or we're not going to make it to Australia, because Australia was not downwind. New Guinea was. And we didn't want to go to New Guinea, we wanted to go to Australia. So while Ken was steering, I got my harness on and a 3-foot tether and my foul weather gear, and I crawled my way up to the mast. And when I say crawled, I mean crawled, because now you're talking about a 25-ton boat that is leaping like a stallion up and down over these waves. We couldn't heave to because that puts too much pressure on the mast facing aft. And he's trying to steer as soft a course as possible, but I got to the mast, undid one of the halyards. A halyard is a line that's used to haul a sail up. So there's a whole bunch of them going up to the top of the mast. In our case, we had 4 spares. We had 2 spinnaker halyards and 2 more jib halyards. So we decided to use these halyards as a jury-rigged forestay if we could get them rigged. I took the halyard in one hand. I crawled with the other hand holding onto a lifeline to the bow. And while I'm on the bow holding on with 2 hands, the boat is going like this. And as it goes up and then drops down into the trough of a 15-foot wave, my feet go flying up behind me, and I'm sitting there holding on like this. As soon as the boat comes down, then I have about 3 seconds to work. And I took the halyard and attached it to the bow plate. I still have to have the other end of the halyard in my hand. Go back to the mast at about the speed of a spacewalk. Stand up, hold on to the mast with one hand, wrap the line around the winch, and crank down for all it was worth. After that, I was able to crawl back to the cockpit, and that was 30 minutes. Then it was Ken's turn. And he did the same thing with one of the other halyards. And then I did it again, and then he did it again. And at the end of about 2 hours, we had 4 halyards that were being used as a jury-rigged forestay. It had to work. It's all we had, and it did work. So we rounded up, and we headed off to Australia. And we got to Australia, and our friends said, "My gosh, what a disastrous passage." And I said, "No, it wasn't. It was our finest hour. Nobody died. Nobody was injured. We persevered. We saved the boat. And we realized that we could not only steer the boat in heavy seas, but we realized that we could face adversity as a team. And we discovered something about digging deep for that strength, because we still had to hand steer for the 36 hours. When we came pretty close to a ship, about a half a mile away, a quarter mile away, and Ken said he smelled popcorn. We were hallucinating about hot meals. For some reason, he wanted popcorn. Well, whenever I ask somebody what kind of story they want to hear, the answer is, "Tell us a scary story." "Tell us about pirates." So I'm often asked about Pirate Alley. And yes, we went right through Pirate Alley. Some of you heard about the horrible disaster this year about the family named the Adams family, 4 Americans who were actually taken by pirates, Somali pirates, and killed. And it was an absolutely disastrous event. When we were going on that exact same route between the Maldives, which is just off of India, and Oman, we realized that we were entering pirate territory as well. Now, their first run-in with pirates got them killed. Our first run-in with the locals was something different. We were supposed to be running radio silent and dark, which means no lights, no radios. You can listen, but you can't transmit back out. It's because someone can track your position. Well, our first run-in with the locals was a radio call to us. Little boat, little boat, little boat, at position. And they gave a position, which happened to have been our position. We want you to steer 30 degrees to port. We want you to alter your course or you're going to hit our fishing net. So I got on the radio. We switched to the single sideband radio, more powerful radio. And I said, who is this? He says, my name is Mohammed, and I am an Iranian fisherman. Okay, now wait a minute. We're entering pirate waters, and Mohammed, the Iranian, calls us, and he says, well, I want you to change your course. Are we being steered into a trap, or does he really want us to miss his fishing net? One of the things I learned during our travels around the world was that, for the most part, people are good. And I had to make that decision as captain. And I decided that Muhammad was telling the truth. And sure enough, about an hour later, he called us back on the radio. And he said, I see you on the radar, and you're going to miss my net. Thank you very much. And I want you to know that not all of us are bad guys out here. So it's a good story. Well, between Oman and Yemen is where the real pirate alley is. And we were ever vigilant. We had a crew of 2 on board at the time, so there were 2 of us standing watch all the time. We were always looking for those pirate skiffs coming over the horizon, and we were armed to the teeth. We could match their AK-47s, no problem. We had one of those plastic orange flare guns. We had pepper spray. We had a white powder fire extinguisher, which we figured we could shoot in their face if they were to come aboard. And we had a spear gun, which doesn't work unless you're underwater, but we had it because it looks ominous. And Suze was on board. She says, they come aboard, I'm hitting them with my handbag. Well, when we were on this 300-mile stretch between Oman and Yemen, we heard another radio call, and it was from our friends on a boat named Mahdi. And they had been attacked by pirates. They and another boat named Gandalf, they were 1.5 days ahead of us on the exact same route. There was nothing we could do to help them. They called with a mayday. There was nothing we could do. They were being attacked, and it was an absolutely horrifying experience for them. Rod, on board Mahdi, a friend of ours, was an ex-Navy guy, and he was armed. And he came up shooting. And he shot with his shotgun and killed 2 of the pirates as they came towards their boat. Gandalf, the other boat, turned and rammed the second pirate boat and disabled their outboard motor. So it was a big win for the good guys because the pirates went away and they were able to sail on to Aden, into Yemen. Well, we were right behind them, and when we pulled into Aden, the Yemen Coast Guard was circling around the anchorage to protect the American yachts and any other yachts because of fear of retribution. They feared that the relatives of the killed pirates were going to come out and hurt us. It didn't help that we were anchored less than 100 yards away from where the USS Cole was blown up. Once we left Aden, then we sailed into the safety of the Red Sea, where we faced the worst storm of our lives. So I wanted adventure. I got it now in that part of the world.